Hey y'all, and welcome to the 12 Days of Christmas Countdown with Artistry Epoxy. Every day we're going to open one of the boxes in their 12 Days of Christmas Advent Calendar and make something amazing. So let's get started. Alright, so day one you have got either sugar plum fairy or hot cocoa. And although only one of the two glitters comes in day one, I do want to show you both of them in action. So we're going to make two of these cute little trinket trays. I usually make a lot of my trays and small molds with the Artistry 1:1 ratio fast set, but this time we are going to use the regular Artistry epoxy simply for the fact that the sides on this tray are pretty deep. We're going to have to use a lot of epoxy for them, about 60 to 70 milliliters each. So I want to make sure I am using an epoxy that is not going to cure super fast. That way we do not end up with any flash curing inside of my molds. I use the fast set epoxy a lot, so my regular epoxy tends to sit for quite a while before I use up the whole bottle. So I do add in a teeny tiny drop of a violet alcohol ink, and that will prevent any yellowing inside of my bottles as it sits for quite a while before I use it all up. I'm using about 60 to 70 milliliters of epoxy for each tray. You don't want to put too much glitter in there because you do want to allow some room for bubbles to rise to the top. If the glitter is too thick, then the bubbles will not be able to make their way through and rise to the top of your mold. Another way to help bubbles when doing a large mold like this is make sure that you heat your part A epoxy before you mix them together. As you can see, this is a thick viscosity epoxy, but it is pretty thinned out because I did heat part A quite a bit before I mixed A and B together. You can also use a spritz bottle of alcohol and just do a couple little sprays on the bottom of your mold before you add in your epoxy, and then spritz that again on top, and that will help those bubbles rise to the top and pop, and it will prevent them from being on the surface of your mold or your tray once you demold it. So on the left tray, I really wanted a lot more of that clear to show through, but the glitter just kind of flowed its way into the clear and we had very little. So rather than just leave it like that, I decided to add a little bit of micas on the bottom of these just to finish it off and be able to see it through the glitter on the other side. So after about 4 hours of cure time for the main part of the molds, I went back in with regular epoxy once again, and I'm just going to add micas into each 30 milliliter cup of epoxy. We're going to be using Amethyst and Savannah. Both of these are from COLORFLEX as well. I'm just going to take a tiny bit on the end of my popsicle stick and mix that in, pour it on top, spread it out, and then run over with my heat gun. One thing you do not want to do whenever you are using silicone molds is use your torch. It can cause your epoxy to stick to your silicone and you will have to scrape or pull it off and it will damage your mold. You also don't want to overheat it too much if you use a heat gun because it can cause the same thing to happen. So just be really careful with heat anytime you are using a silicone mold. After I allowed them to cure overnight, I took them out of the mold. And y'all, this glitter, it was beautiful before we put it into the epoxy and down into this mold. But when I demolded these, holy cow, this glitter is so beautiful. The lighting might have been a little weird in this recording because there was a ray of sun shining through my window, but we hadn't seen sunshine in what feels like weeks. So I was letting that sun shine in, which was perfect to see the glitter in all of its glory. Once we had those trays out, we're going to add on some rub-on transfers from Southern Belle Glitter. These are from the Brittany Barnes Boutique Holiday Collection. I have used almost all of them out of my full collection. So I wanted to add these on to the trays to just pull everything together. Once I had my rub-on transfers on there and just made sure that there weren't any bubbles underneath and pressed down all the sides real well, I did go in with a fast set this time. This is the Artistry 1:1 ratio fast set, and I used about 15 milliliters per tray just to cover up those transfers and seal them in and give it a nice glossy finish. Once I had all of my epoxy spread out evenly in the center, I went over with my torch to get any of those micro bubbles that might be left, and we were done. These Advent boxes are one of a kind, and they are packed full of amazing products from Artistry and COLORFLEX. So if you want one, be sure to grab them before they're all gone. I hope that y'all have enjoyed this tutorial. As always, all of the products that I have used will be listed down in the description below for you with some discount codes. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell in the corner to be notified anytime a new tutorial drops. That is all for today. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time.